They say summer changes everything. I never really believed that, until the day Aaron asked me to help him train for his police fitness exam. It was supposed to be nothing, just two guys, old friends from high school, running drills in the park, like we used to before life pulled us into different directions. He had called it catching up with a purpose. I told him it was just another excuse to make me his free personal trainer. Truth was, I would have said yes even if he'd asked me to dig holes in the desert. Aaron had that kind of pull over me, always had. We met our junior year, and from day one, he'd been this golden retriever of a guy, charming without trying, loud in a way that filled silences I didn't know I needed filled. He never noticed how I used to watch him laugh with girls in the hallway, how I studied the slope of his jawline like it might solve some internal equation I couldn't quite figure out. We lost touch after graduation, drifted into separate orbits. He joined the military. I became a freelance graphic designer with an unhealthy addiction to oat milk lattes and late-night playlists. Then, a few weeks ago, he texted out of the blue, "Hey man, back in town, want to help me train? Could use someone who won't let me slack off." He still had that crooked smile in his profile picture. Still called me man, like he always had. Like it didn't sting a little when I wished he'd say something else. Now we're here. Two adults in a shaded corner of the local park, surrounded by overgrown hedges and the distant shouts of a kid's soccer game. I've got a stopwatch and a training plan. He's got that same easy grin, sweat already darkening the collar of his gray tank top. "You sure you're not going to go easy on me, coach?" he teases, nudging my arm. I roll my eyes and pretend like my skin doesn't burn from the touch. "Please, you'll be begging for mercy in 20 minutes, he laughs, the sound too familiar, too dangerous. There's a tightness in my chest I try to ignore as I watch him stretch, arms above his head, shirt lifting slightly, revealing a scar on his lower ribs I'd never seen before. I look away too fast. This was supposed to be simple, but I can already feel it, the shift. The air feels heavier, or maybe it's just my thoughts. The weight of everything I never said is louder here, in the quiet space between his breaths and mine, and somewhere deep inside me, I know this summer is about to undo me. Aaron and I weren't the kind of friends who stayed in constant contact, but when we reconnected, it felt like no time had passed. That's how it always was with him, like muscle memory, like riding a bike downhill with the wind at your back. Back in high school, we'd been on the track team together. I ran sprints. He did long distance, and we always met at the water cooler after laps, breathless and grinning. He'd steal my Gatorade, and I'd pretend to be annoyed, though I started bringing 2 bottles just so he could. We were always opposites in the way that somehow worked. He was loud, charming, a little reckless. I was quiet, observant, the one who noticed when he was pushing too hard or hiding a limp. I think he liked that I didn't try to compete with him. I liked that he made me feel seen without asking me to explain myself. Now, years later, it's like we've stepped back into that rhythm, only older, more weathered, maybe more vulnerable. "I still can't believe you run your own business." "Now," Aaron says, tossing his shirt onto the bench and flopping down beside it. "Remember when you used to doodle logos on your math homework?" I smirk, wiping sweat from my brow. "You used to call it nerd art." "Yeah, well, nerds run the world now, and I need one to design my training shirts." He gives me that grin, wide, boyish, the kind that made teachers forgive his late homework. "Get through week 1 without complaining, and I'll consider it." He chuckles, and there's a beat of silence where our eyes meet, too long, too aware. And then he looks away, rubbing the back of his neck. We're staying in his uncle's empty cabin for the next few days. It's not fancy, just 2 small bedrooms, creaky wood floors and a porch that overlooks a patch of woods that smell like pine and soil. He offered it up like it was no big deal, said we could train early in the mornings, grill at night, get back in shape, and catch up. What he didn't mention was that one of the bedrooms had a busted window and smelled like mildew. which is how I ended up sharing a room with him, and more awkwardly, realizing there was only one air mattress that didn't deflate within 30 minutes. "I'll take the floor," I said quickly when we discovered the lopsided situation, trying to hide the rush of panic that flooded me at the thought of sleeping that close to him. Aaron just shrugged. "Nah, dude, we can both fit. I don't snore." He does snore, like a bear with a head cold. But I didn't argue. I just nodded and pretended it didn't feel like the floor had dropped out beneath me. That night, we lay side by side in the dark, the fan creaking above us, too warm and too close. Our shoulders brushed once, accidentally, I think, and I felt the static of it for hours afterward, even after I turned to face the wall. The next day, during cool-down stretches, he reached for his toes and groaned dramatically. God, I'm dying. I think my legs are staging a rebellion. I laughed. You did like 2 circuits. Exactly. That's 2 more than I've done in the past 6 months. He laid back on the grass, arms sprawled, eyes closed, chest, rising and falling under the sun. There was a leaf stuck to his collarbone. I didn't reach for it. "Why'd you ask me to help?" I asked, the words coming out quieter than I meant. He opened one eye, squinting up at me. "Because you always made me better at things, even back then." Something caught in my throat. I looked away. In the distance, thunder rumbled, a soft warning. By the time we started jogging back to the cabin, the sky opened up, drenching us in warm summer rain. We burst through the porch door, soaked, laughing breathlessly. His shirt clung to him like a second skin. Mine probably did too, but I wasn't thinking about me. Just him. His eyes bright and wide. The way he looked at me like this was the best moment of the week. I told myself I was imagining it. But a part of me wondered if, maybe, just maybe, I wasn't. The rain didn't stop that night. It fell in steady sheets against the cabin roof, turning the dirt trail into a swamp and the forest into a dripping, echoing chamber of noise. By morning, the only road back into town had washed out completely. "Looks like we're stuck for a couple days," Aaron said, standing barefoot by the window in his joggers and a hoodie, mug in hand. He sounded a little too cheerful about it. I stared at the rain and tried not to think about the air mattress in the tiny room behind us, the one we'd now be sharing for longer than I'd prepared for. Not that I'd ever prepared for it. "Cool," I said, sipping my coffee, hoping the burn would mask the way my stomach tightened. We passed the day with card games, half-hearted workouts, and watching old DVDs his uncle left behind. But as the hours dragged, the cabin shrank. Not literally, but in that way space feels smaller when your mind can't escape what it wants. It was the little things that got to me, like when he leaned over to grab a card from the table and his knee brushed mine, and he didn't move it right. Away. Or the way he ruffled my hair after he beat me in poker, laughing like we were 16 again. Or when he watched me from the kitchen doorway, quietly, while I chopped vegetables for dinner and said, "You're still the most patient person." I know, he didn't mean anything by it. Probably. But I felt everything. That night, as we got ready for bed, I noticed him moving the air mattress closer to the wall. Our usual side-by-side setup suddenly looked cozier. I stood frozen with my toothbrush, still in my mouth. "You, trying something new there?" He looked up. "The draft's worse in the middle. You looked cold last night?" "Oh." I blinked. "Thanks." There was no logic to the way my heart raced just from that. Just from the thought of him noticing, of him caring, in his own casual way. We lay there in the dark, closer than usual. The silence humming between us. "You ever think about high school?" he asked after a while, voice soft. "Sometimes," I said, staring at the wooden beams above us. "Mostly the stuff that didn't make sense then." "Like what?" I hesitated. Like why I felt so out of place, even with people I liked. There was a beat. "I felt that too," he said. I turned my head slightly. You, Mr. Most Likely to Charm Everyone? He chuckled, low and warm. Doesn't mean I knew what I wanted, or what any of it meant. I didn't breathe for a second, what any of it meant. What did he mean? You always seemed like you had it figured out, I said quietly. I didn't. Still don't. His voice dropped. But being here with you makes things feel simpler, easier. My chest ached. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words tangled in my throat. I turned away, scared that if I looked at him now, I'd give myself away. Sometime in the middle of the night, I woke to the sound of thunder and found him curled toward me, one arm draped loosely across my waist. I froze. His breath was warm against my neck, slow and even. He was still asleep. It would have been so easy to shift away, to create space, but instead, I stayed. God, I stayed. And I hated how much I loved it. The next day, the rain finally slowed, and we decided to take a walk around the property. The air was heavy with petrichor, the ground soft beneath our shoes. We took the trail. Behind the cabin, weaving through pines and low brush, the quiet settling between us like a blanket. Aaron walked ahead for a moment, then turned to face me, walking backward. I ever tell you how weird it is to be back here? He asked. Like, life paused and picked up again in this exact place. Yeah, I said. Like stepping back into a dream you weren't done having. He stopped walking. I almost bumped into him. He looked at me and there was something different in his face this time. Softer, quieter. You ever feel like something's right in front of you and you're scared to reach for it? He asked. I swallowed. All the time. We stood there, the trees rustling gently above us, the damp air between us charged. Then, as if on instinct, he reached out and brushed my knuckles with his. Just a graze. Barely anything. But I felt it, everywhere. His fingers lingered a moment too long, and I didn't pull away. Didn't want to. He looked down at our hands, then back at me. You always kept me grounded, you know. Yeah? My voice was too soft. Yeah. Even when I didn't. Deserve it? I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. I wanted to lean in, to close the distance that suddenly felt unbearable. But I couldn't. Not yet. Instead, I just nodded. I've got you, I said, the words quiet and raw. He smiled, small, genuine, and for the first time I thought maybe he saw it, all of it. Not just the friendship, not just the years, but the truth I'd been carrying for so long, and he didn't look away. The storm cleared the next morning, leaving the sky glassy and blue, like nothing had ever been wrong. We spent the early hours sitting on the porch, sipping coffee and saying nothing. It wasn't the usual comfortable silence. This one buzzed. Carried weight. Like something had been left unsaid for too long, and the air knew it. Aaron tapped the edge of his mug with his thumb. The road's probably dry enough now. We could head back after lunch. I nodded, staring out at the trees. Yeah, makes sense. But it didn't feel like it made sense. It felt like something was ending before I'd even found the courage to start it. He glanced at me. You okay? Yeah, I said too quickly, then added. Just weirdly not ready to go back yet. He smiled, soft. Same. We went. Back inside, cleaned up the kitchen, packed our bags, each motion mechanical, deliberate. Neither of us talked much. Not until I found him standing in the hallway, staring at the air mattress like it had personally wronged him. I chuckled. What, gonna miss our luxurious suite? He gave a crooked grin. Something like that. I hesitated, then walked over. Close enough to feel the heat radiating from his skin. Close enough that if I reached out, my hand would graze his. I didn't. Move. He glanced sideways at me, something unreadable in his eyes. Last night? Yeah. I woke up and I thought you were awake too. You were just lying there, not moving. I swallowed hard. I was awake. He nodded slowly. I wanted to say something then, but I didn't want to make it weird. I exhaled through my nose, heart pounding. It's already weird, isn't it? No, he said. Then again, quieter. No, it's just different. Different doesn't have to be bad. My throat tightened. I stepped back, needing space to think, but it just made everything feel worse, like I'd put a wall between us the second he'd started to open up. Say it, he said. Whatever's in your head. I closed my eyes. You don't want me to. I do, so I did. I've liked you for years, Aaron, I said, voice shaking. Probably since high school, if I'm being honest. I just didn't let myself name it, because you're straight, or at least, I thought you were. And I didn't want to lose you over a stupid crush I never asked for. He didn't speak, and the silence was brutal. I told myself it would go away, I went on, words tumbling out now, raw and unfiltered. That it was just nostalgia, or that I was projecting or some other excuse. But being here with you again, God, Aaron, it just made it worse. Better, I don't know. He was staring at me, not angry, not disgusted, just stunned. His eyes were wide, like I'd taken the air out of the room. I took a shaky breath. You're probably going to say this changes everything. And that's fine. I'll deal with it. I needed you to know, even if it ruins things. The seconds that followed felt eternal. Then softly he said, It doesn't ruin anything. I blinked. What? He ran a hand through his hair, pacing a step away, then turning back to me with a look I'd never seen before. Unsure, vulnerable. I don't know what this means, he said. I haven't ever thought of myself as, not like that. My heart cracked a little. I nodded. I get it. I didn't expect anything. But I have thought about you, he said, voice quiet and rough. Not in high school, maybe. Not at first. But over the years, I'd remember these little things. How calm you were. How you always understood. Me better than I understood myself. He shook his head, laughing bitterly. I thought it was just that you were a good friend. But then I'd see you post something, or you'd text me out of the blue, and I'd feel this pull. And I'd shut it down before I could figure out what it meant. I didn't breathe. Couldn't. But these past few days, he stepped closer, eyes locked on mine. I've been replaying everything, how easy it is with you, how it feels when you laugh or look at me like I matter. I don't know what it says about me. I don't have a label for it. But I know this. When you're near me, I feel better. I feel right. His hand brushed mine again. This time, deliberate. I don't want to lose you either, and not because I'm scared you like me. I'm scared I like you. And I don't know what to do with that. The dam broke. My hand curled around his before I realized I was even moving. He didn't pull away. He stepped in, so close I could feel the breath between us, every nerve in my body thrumming. You don't have to know everything right now, I whispered. I just needed to know if there was something. Anything. There is, he said. There is. His eyes dropped to my lips, then back up, searching for permission. I didn't give it with words. I leaned in first, slow, unsure, and he met me halfway. It wasn't fireworks or music swelling in the background. It was quiet, hesitant, a little clumsy. But God, it was real. His lips were warm and uncertain against mine, like he was discovering something he hadn't let himself want until now. He broke the kiss first, resting his forehead against mine. I don't know what this makes me, he murmured. I smiled, breathless. It makes you honest. He laughed under his breath. That's terrifying. I know. He pulled me into a hug then, full and grounding, his arms wrapping tight around my back like he'd finally let himself need someone. I sank into him, feeling the weight of every moment we'd held back finally lifting. I'm not going to pretend I have it figured out, he said into my shoulder. I'm not asking you to. But I want to try. With you. That was everything. We stood there for a long time, holding each other, the quiet around us no longer empty but full of hope, full of breath, full of a beginning we never saw coming, but maybe, deep down, always wanted. And as we finally pulled apart, his hand still in mine, the look in his eyes told me all I needed. This wasn't the end of something. It was the start. The cabin felt different after the kiss. Warmer, somehow. Like all the tension that had been building up in the walls, in our shoulders, in every silent glance. We'd finally let it go. Or maybe we just acknowledged it was there in the first place. Aaron was still holding my hand as we sat on the couch, legs stretched out, the storm long gone, but the scent of wet pine still lingering through the open windows. There was a quiet hum in the air, like the whole forest was listening in. He was the first to break the silence. So, that happened. I let out a soft laugh. Yeah, it did. He turned to me, his knee brushing mine, eyes searching. You okay? Better than okay, I said, then added, You? He nodded slowly. Yeah, I mean, I've got a million questions in my head and like 0 answers. But being here with you, doing this, it doesn't feel wrong. It feels good. Right. I couldn't help the smile that spread across my face. I've wanted to hear that for so long I almost thought I imagined it. Hey, he nudged my shoulder, grinning. Careful. Might start thinking you're irresistible or something. I rolled my eyes. I mean, you did kiss me first. That's debatable, he said, raising an eyebrow. Oh, really? You practically leaned in with a spotlight and background music. He laughed, head falling back against the couch, and I watched the way his eyes crinkled at the corners, the way he looked younger when he laughed like that, unguarded and happy. I missed this, I said quietly. This? You? Us? But more than that, I missed not pretending. His smile softened. Yeah, me too. He leaned into my side a little, his hand finding mine again, his thumb tracing circles against my skin like he was memorizing the shape of me. After a while, he said, So, what now? I took a breath. I don't need anything figured out, tonight. But I do need to know you're serious. That this wasn't just a moment, or the storm, or some emotional blip. His expression turned earnest. I wouldn't have kissed you if it was. I don't know exactly what this makes me, or what people would think, but I do know I want to see where this goes. With you. Hearing that out loud, without hesitation, without a nervous laugh to cover it, was everything I didn't know I needed. You sure? I asked, even though I didn't want to doubt him. He nodded. Scared? Yeah. Confused? A little. But the idea of walking away now, after finally feeling this, it's scarier. I felt something shift in my chest. A wall, long held and carefully, constructed, finally crumbling. I rested my head on his shoulder. So, he said, voice low and teasing, does this mean I'm officially your hot gym buddy now? I snorted. Absolutely not. You still grunt like an old man every time you do squats. Rude. And you sweat so much, I'm surprised the gym hasn't installed a mop station next to your bench. You're lucky I like you. He muttered. Yeah, I said softly, turning to meet his gaze. I really am. We stayed like that for a while, arms tangled, feet brushing. The sun dipped lower through the trees, casting golden light across the wooden floor. Everything felt still, safe. like the world could wait a little longer before it came knocking. Eventually, Aaron said, "I don't know what this means when we get back. It's one thing being here, just us. But when we're back in the city, real life's a lot louder." "I know," I said, "but we'll figure it out, one day at a time." He nodded. "Yeah, one day at a time." He reached for my hand again. This time I didn't let go, and in that small, quiet moment, legs tangled, hearts open, I realized something. This wasn't just something we stumbled into. This was something we'd chosen, and I had a feeling it would be worth everything that came next. The next morning, the world felt impossibly quiet. Not the eerie kind, but the peaceful kind. Like the universe was holding its breath in a moment meant just for us. The storm had passed completely, leaving the trees glistening with dew and the ground soft beneath our feet. Sunlight filtered through the branches like a promise, dappling Aaron's face as he stepped onto the cabin porch with 2 steaming mugs in his hands. "Black," he said, handing me one. "No sugar, just the way you like it." I took it, fingers brushing his on purpose this time. "Thanks." He sat beside me on the steps, barefoot, hair still damp from the shower, hoodie pulled on lazily over his t-shirt. I couldn't stop. Looking at him, not in the way I used to steal glances, careful and hidden, but openly, freely. "Do you think they'll know?" He asked after a moment. "Who?" "Our friends. My brother. Your sister. Anyone." I sipped the coffee, let the warmth settle inside me. "I think some of them already do. Maybe not the details, but they saw how I looked at you." He glanced sideways at me, a small smile pulling at the corner of his mouth. "And how was that?" I pretended to think. "Like a man tragically in love with his completely oblivious best friend," he chuckled. "Yeah, I might have been more oblivious than I should have. Or maybe just scared." "You're not now?" He looked at me for a long second, the kind of look that says more than words ever could. "I'm still scared," he admitted, "but I'm not running. Not from this." It hit me then, not just the weight of those words, but what they meant. This wasn't a momentary spark. It was a slow-burning flame we'd both kept hidden for so long, we forgot how warm it could be. He shifted beside me and reached into the pocket of his hoodie, pulling out the keychain I'd given him years ago. It was cheap and scratched. An old souvenir from a camping trip we took as teenagers. It had a tiny compass on it that never worked quite right, and a faded inscription, "No matter where." "I still keep this," he said, handing it to me. I turned it over in my hands, surprised it was still intact. "Why?" "Because it reminded me of you, of us, of how everything always made sense when we were together, even when life didn't." My throat tightened. He leaned closer, resting his head against mine. "I want to try," he said quietly. "I want to see where this goes. I don't know what the future looks like, but I know it's better with you in it." The morning breeze brushed over us, gentle and cool, but his hand found mine and held it like an anchor. Not just for now, but for tomorrow and every moment after. "Okay," I whispered. "Let's see where it goes." We stayed there on the porch for a long time, legs dangling, fingers laced, talking about the little things. About breakfast. About whether the gym would give us weird looks when we showed up together again. About whose playlist we'd use on the drive home. And when we finally packed up the cabin and loaded our bags into the car, he reached across the console, grabbed my hand, and kissed my knuckles softly before starting the engine. The gravel crunched beneath the tires as we pulled. Away, the trees giving way to open road, the sky wide and blue ahead of us. Aaron glanced at me, smirk playing on his lips. "Still think I grunt like an old man when I squat?" I smiled. "Absolutely." He shook his head, but his laughter was light, easy. We had miles ahead of us, questions without answers, and a world that might not understand. But we had each other. And for the first time in a long time, that felt like more than enough. As we drove toward the city, toward whatever was waiting, I leaned back in my seat, the compass keychain dangling from the rearview mirror. No matter where. Yeah, we'd be okay.